Welcome to the Instagram stories for Thursday, April 26th. I'm your host, Daniel Hill. The biggest news of the day comes from Meta, who recently released their earnings report. The company says that they beat revenue expectations, reporting an increase in year-over-year revenue for the first time in 3 quarters. Let's just put that in context, though. In November last year, they let go of 10,000 people. In March of this year, they let go another 10,000 people. And in April of this year, they let go 4,000 people. So it's nice to know that things are turning around, but that's at the expense of a lot of jobs. Interestingly, CEO of Meta, Mark Zuckerberg, made it a point to tell investors that he is not making a U-turn into the AI lane and leaving the metaverse entirely. Rather, he sees AI as a technology that works in tandem with the metaverse. Here's the quote from Mark Zuckerberg. Quote, "A narrative has developed that we're somehow moving away from focusing on the metaverse vision, so I want to just say upfront that that's not accurate. We've been focusing on AI and the metaverse, and we will continue to." End quote. However, just because Mark Zuckerberg remains committed to the metaverse does not mean that it's profitable. Here's a little bit more context about that. Meta's Department for Virtual Reality and Augmented Reality lost nearly $4 billion this quarter. In all of 2022, it lost $13.7 billion. Mark Zuckerberg did point out that virtual reality and augmented reality technology do involve AI. He's quoted as saying, "Our vision for AR glasses involves an AI-centric operating system that we think will be the basis for the next generation of computing. Building the metaverse is a long-term project, but the rationale for it remains the same, and we remain committed to it." End quote. We are going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk about some engagement information that Meta shared on its earnings call with respect to Instagram. So stick around.
This episode is brought to you by Michigan Economic Development Corporation. In Michigan, you can have both a rewarding career and a quality lifestyle, with plentiful career opportunities in world-changing, innovating industries, from electric vehicles to clean energy to biotech, with room for advancement no matter where you are in your career. Plus, Michigan offers a welcoming, beautiful, affordable, and inclusive community for all. Live your best life. You can in Michigan. Visit themichiganlife.org.
Welcome back. We've been discussing what Meta talked about on their latest earnings call, which was on Wednesday. You're listening to this on Thursday. Meta shared some updated engagement information around its platforms. Mark Zuckerberg said the time spent on Instagram has grown more than 24% since the company launched Reels on Instagram, thanks to AI-powered content recommendations. Basically, exactly what TikTok said. The CFO of Meta, her name is Susan Li, she said, quote, "We're very pleased with what we've seen Reels drive in terms of incremental engagement on the platform so far," adding, quote, "It's clear that people value short-term video on the platform," end quote. She further clarified that Instagram is also seeing a lot more sharing around Reels in recent months. Here's a quote, "We're seeing the sharing flywheel take off with Reels reshares, with reshares doubling over the past 6 months," end quote. I think that's really good information to know. This is a good reminder to go into your analytics and check which of your Reels have the most reshares. That's probably the content you want to be creating more of. Now let's dive into where the earnings call gets interesting. The CFO, Susan Li, seemed to shy away from an analyst question regarding whether Reels was having a similar impact on Facebook as opposed to Instagram. But she did repeatedly note that on Facebook, AI-driven recommendations that don't come from direct connections are increasing engagement among users. While Reels and AI recommendations are driving more engagement on Instagram, that's not actually working out to be more revenue. The CFO, Susan Li, acknowledged that Reels are actually cannibalizing some revenue from stories and feed-based posts, since they're accounting for some of the time users would have spent engaging with that content. That larger trend is incremental, meaning overall user time is going up on the platforms, which is good and will eventually be a positive point for revenue potential. Susan Li said Reels is on track to be revenue neutral by the end of the year or early 2024 and looked ahead to positive contributions sometime after that. And she mentioned that there will be product work in figuring out the proper monetization for Reels, since they are structurally different from existing Instagram types. This is an interesting part because I've been talking about this over the past few weeks. Instagram pulled its monetization program for Reels, saying that Reels wasn't profitable. I was looking at the platform as a whole to say, how is this not profitable? What's the problem? Here's a quote, "We don't have line of sight to getting Reels to monetization parity with feed or stories per time because of those structural differences," end quote. But because it's driving incremental growth, she said they're confident they will eventually become a key contributor to monetization. It's interesting how they divide each part of the platform separately to whether or not it's profitable and use that to pay creators instead of looking at it as a whole. I still overall would look at the platform and usage as a whole rather than each specific part of the platform. But hey, I don't work at Instagram. It's just my opinion. I will link to these articles on the earnings calls in the show notes so you can check them out for yourselves and read all the details. That is going to do it for today's episode. Thank you so much for listening, but be sure to come back tomorrow for more Instagram or TikTok or other social media or tech news.
Instagram news got you covered, sometimes even TikTok. Relevant platforms in the metaverse ahead of the wave. Without a break or a pit stop, still waiting for Zuckerberg to give me the big job. Pause. Use trademarks and logos with Insta's permission, of course. If you like the show and gain some good info, maybe leave a review. It's a type of applause. Just drop me a message if you want to collab. If you've got some good content or you want to run ads, at Daniel Hill Media is where I am. TikTok, Facebook and Instagram.